I really hope I'm not the one breaking this news to you. I hope you came across this somewhere else on the internet other than this channel right now. But if not, well then I guess it's my unfortunate obligation and duty to tell you that Ozzy Osbourne has died at the age of 76. After battling Parkinson's disease and many spinal surgeries, it has finally come to a head and Ozzy Osbourne has left this corporeal realm. Now I just heard this news and I'm a little bit shaken, I'm a little bit rocked by it. I'm not surprised, I saw it coming, but it's still such a tremendous loss for everybody. For everybody that's ever listened to rock and roll music, for anybody that's ever watched reality TV, for anybody that's ever been into alternative culture or anything of the sort. Ozzy Osbourne has had such a tremendous impact and a huge influence on. And today we lost a grandfather, a godfather, a pioneer, an originator, but more importantly, a father, a husband, a friend to many people for many decades. Ozzy Osbourne is one of those dudes that will be spoken about until the end of time whenever music is talked about. And this might be a really hot take, but I think that Black Sabbath is more important and has more relevance and influence on modern rock and roll, or whatever that is, than the Beatles. I know that's a very arguable statement to make. This is not the time to have that argument, but it is the time and place for me to state my opinion on that matter. I think that Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath are the most important band and artist to exist ever when it comes to popular rock and roll music. But you don't get more influential, wide-reaching, creative, charismatic, enigmatic than Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy Osbourne walked so all of the artists after him could run. He took the brunt of the weight of the satanic panic. He took it head on and actually kind of leaned into it. And it's so great that he didn't bow down to any of it. He rose above all the controversy. He rose above all the criticism of his early career just to go on to be the most iconic individual in rock and roll music. Now, I didn't have time to write anything or prepare anything, and of course, I'm feeling kind of shaken and emotional by it. Ozzy Osbourne has been around in my life for as long as I've been a person, and probably as long as everybody watching this has been a person. His influence, his iconic stature has always been just a mainstay as a part of this earth, as a part of this overall timeline. And now, it's gone. And at 76 years old, there are people running the American country right now that are older than 76 years old. Hell, you got Angus Young and AC/DC out there. You still got fucking Paul McCartney wailing away out there. It's not like Ozzy Osbourne was the last of a dying breed. It's not like he was the last of his kind. There are still members from his age demographic still out there doing it, and people that are even older than Ozzy Osbourne. How old is Angus Young? Oh, Angus is only 70. How old is Keith Richards? Keith Richards is 81, and his Wikipedia still reads, Keith Richards is an English musician, and not Keith Richards was an English musician. So it is wild that these people that lived the most raucous, diabolical, dangerous lives created stuff and then saw the creation of so many things that were inspired directly from the things that they created, and they were still walking around on this earth to this day. Bob Dylan even. Bob Dylan is someone that I would put maybe above Ozzy Osbourne on my personal list of importance, and he is 84 years old as the time of recording this video. But what Ozzy Osbourne's death tells me is that, yeah, it's great that they made it to this age against all odds, but we're about to hear a lot more stories like this in the next coming decade or so. Human life expectancies are still human life expectancies, unfortunately. And these legends, even though it's crazy that they're still walking the earth, we are gonna have to tip our hat to them as they bow gracefully one last time. And I'm just so happy that Ozzy Osbourne was able to have that last performance. He was able to get all of his friends together, all of the original members of that band, and that's even crazy that that could even be a thing, but he got them all together to have that gigantic celebration that everybody in the rock world was happy to jump on and celebrate. Not everybody gets to do that, especially at the level and at the capacity of an Ozzy Osbourne. And when we saw that this show, this big final Ozzy Osbourne show was happening, it was kind of a signal being like, okay, Ozzy knows that the time is coming and he needs to have this show before it's too late. And as the show happened, as all this news started to come out, and then after the show went ahead and happened, I think Ozzy then had the closure that he needed, and I think everybody was waiting for today. Not in any sort of morbid way or whatever. We all just kind of knew that it was coming. And it was very sad to see Ozzy Osbourne sit in that chair and deliver those songs, but it was still also kind of like empowering and inspiring to see him just gut it out and to go out there and still fucking do it, you know? How goddamn rock and roll is that? How metal is that? Ozzy Osbourne went out the way that he came in, with a gigantic bang, and you really can't ask for a better send-off than that. There are going to be people with more eloquent eulogies than this one. There are going to be people with more impactful words than the words that I'm saying right now. I understand that. But Ozzy Osbourne meant a lot to me as a music enjoyer, as a rock and roll fan, as somebody that had music in his life for the entirety of it as the most important thing. Ozzy Osbourne was just always one of those figures that I knew helped make it happen. And without him, I don't know if a guy like me would even have a chance to be into or interested in the things that I got into. What would the culture even look like without a guy like Ozzy Osbourne? So thank you, Ozzy. And now his friends, family, and the music community as a whole join together in mourning one of the most important and iconic people to ever walk this earth. So throw on Paranoid, get some Sweet Leaf on the go, and celebrate one of the greatest lives that ever was. Okay, goodbye, see you later, have a good one. Rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne.